Good evening. Welcome to the September 13th, 2023 Churchill County Planning Commission meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. At this time, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand.
We're going the same way in just a minute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's okay.
Agenda item number 3, any public comment on any matter not on the agenda? None heard. Agenda item 4, verification of the posting of the agenda.
The agenda was posted in accordance with NRS and Churchill County Code.
Agenda item 5, approval of the agenda as submitted or revised.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda as submitted or revised.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Hyde. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Agenda item number 6, verification of notification of all landowners in accordance with the NRS and the Churchill County Consolidated Development Code.
All effort was made to notify the property owners as required.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, approval of minutes of the meeting held on August the 9th, 2023. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve
Oh, he have it.
the minutes of the meeting held on August 9th, 2023.
A second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Bocote, seconded by Commissioner Deal. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Agenda item number 7, approval of minutes of the meeting held on August the 22nd, 2023 workshop. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes held on August 22nd, 2023 workshop.
Second.
Second. Motion been made by Commissioner Bocote, seconded by Commissioner Deal. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Agenda item number 8, old business. Item A, review of a special use permit that was previously granted to Safety Clean Systems Incorporated for property located at 22211 Bango Road. Is there anyone here to talk on behalf of this application? Please come forward to the table, state your name and company address for the record. There's a microphone symbol there. Just push that till it turns green. Make sure the microphone is close.
Push the look, yeah.
Chris Balhoff with Safety Clean at 22211 Bango Road.
Thank you. Director Spross, do you have a,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Ross for the record. So this is the one-year review for the special use permit for Safety Clean, as you had mentioned. The applicant was contacted by our office to let them know about this meeting, and we received a letter on August 31st that outlined the progress that they had made since the approval of the SUP. The building department had indicated that Safety Clean could connect to the utilities, to the temporary office building on 727. A building permit was issued by the building department on December 5th for the glycol unit. On December 13th, County Building Inspector and Public Works and Planning confirmed that no other submittals were required to initiate the use of the temporary office. The use of the temporary office building commenced immediately thereafter. The facility did start using the glycol unit, but has been using it intermittently. Based on the information that we received with supporting document from the building department on the various permits that were issued and or closed, staff feels that Safety Clean is making progress towards their surface area disturbance, their special use permit. With that, I'm sure applicant will be happy to answer any questions.
thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add?
Nope, nothing additional.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions from the commission? Mr. Patterson?
Dean Patterson for the record, Public Works and Planning. Don't bend it. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Sorry about that. There's a one-year review on the initial application conditions of approval, so if the Planning Commission is satisfied with the progress Safety Clean has made, feel free to state that no additional reviews are needed. I just wanted to bring that point up so that they didn't have to come again if they didn't need to.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson had those comments, so is there any other commission discussion? Anyone like to make a motion or approval to add those comments?
I move that we approve that we need no further review.
Motion been made by Commissioner Bunyer, second by Commissioner Deal, that Safety Clean is in compliance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8, old business. Item B, renewal of application for a temporary use permit for temporary quarters during home construction previously granted to Robert Hunter for the property located at 4432 Benson Lane. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application? Please come forward to the table. Hit the microphone button until your microphone turns green. State your name and address for the record.
Robert Hunter, 4432 Benson Lane.
Thank you. Director Spross, you'd like to summarize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Spross for the record. So this is a renewal for a temporary use permit for home construction. The initial permit was issued back in September 11th, 2019. So this will be the third request for renewal. I have received information from the building department. There was a building permit issued on August 18th, 2023 for a 988 square foot single-family dwelling. So far, one inspection has been completed. That was the footing inspection, and that was approved. A septic permit was issued back in July 18th of this year. On July 28th, the final inspection was performed, and it was approved. So there is progress being made towards this home construction.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any further they would like to add to the discussion?
No, I don't.
Okay, can you give us an update of where you are as of today and where you plan to be 1 year from today?
We got the footing approved as he's,
Yeah.
we got
Can
the footing approved as stated, and the stem wall has been poured as of 2 days ago and approved. I hope to not have to be back here next year. That's my plan.
So within this year, you want to be 100% complete?
Correct.
Okay. Director Spross, should we continue for a review and then just cancel it as necessary in case it does not meet the guideline?
It's my recommendation, if you do decide to approve, we will continue to make contact with the building department to determine what inspections are being done. If progress is being made, but it's not complete, I recommend that the applicant does come to you next year at this time and request another renewal, just in order to keep up on the progress of the project.
Thank you.
Chair.
Does the commission have any questions or discussion?
Can you, you noted and you said also, the building permit is waiting on the county. Have you been issued one?
Yes, ma'am. I have been issued one, paid my impact fees, $5,500.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion from the commission or questions? Would the commission like to make a motion? Or, excuse me, is there any public comment about this matter? None heard. Would the commission make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. I move that we renew the special use permit for Robert Hunter at located 4432 Benson Lane, parcel number 006-631-27.
Do we need to add a one-year review in there? Okay. The motion's been made by Commissioner Goins, second by Commissioner Hyde. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. If there's a 10-day appeal period, and the building or the planning department will contact you. Thank you. Agenda item 8, old business. Item C, temporary use permit granted by the Board of County Commissioners to Ruth Miller for the property located at 4810 Schindler Road. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application?
Mr. Chair,
Judge Spross?
Chris Spross for the record. We received some correspondence throughout the day from Ms. Miller regarding this application, and I'm going to ask that Lorelei LeBaron, our Code of Compliance Officer, kind of elaborate on the correspondence as well as give you an update of where Ms. Miller is with regards to her situation in this application.
Thank you. Ms. LeBaron?
Churchill County Code Compliance Official Lorelei LeBaron speaking. With Miss Miller, my understanding is the RV was removed off the property date and taken to the fairgrounds for approximately 2 weeks. I understand that social services is in the process of trying to assist the RV occupant in filling out the applications needed to assist her, but there's been some refusal in doing so, so it's made things complicated due to some medical reasons. I can share with you as far as the junk motor vehicles goes, she is currently in compliance with that, and she's working on other areas on the property to improve the property condition.
Mr. Chair, Chris Spross for the record. I will add one thing. There was an email that came this afternoon with regards to the filling out the application with social services. There was some resistance, but it's my understanding at this point her daughter is going to be helping her fill out that application, and she said she will move forward with completing that. So I just wanted to add that piece of information.
Thank you. And for clarification, you're speaking to the people that were living in the travel trailer, not the property owner.
That is correct.
Thank you.
One other piece of information I received today, a 5-day, and I don't know if I'm going to say this the right way, a 5-day, the people that are in there have 5 days to clear out. There's a proper word for it. I don't know what it is. But she sent us a copy of the application, and they have agreed that they will be out in 5 days. So it appears that things are starting to move in the proper direction. My question is, and unfortunately Ms. Miller is not here, if all these things are being taken care of, in other words, the code compliance issue with regards to the cars is being mitigated, people are moving off the site and moving to an RV park, what is the necessity for having a temporary use permit at this point? With the applicant not being able to answer that, maybe Ms. LeBaron has some more information. But at this point, if there's nobody living on the property, there really is no reason for a temporary use permit. So can you shed some light on that, Lorelei, not to put you on the spot?
I can share the information that I have been informed of, which is Ms. Miller did not state one way or the other specifically that she had no need for the temporary use permit. However, based on her actions and our conversations at a site visit, her every intention was to move the RV off of the property, and after that have no one reside on the property, aside from who's residing inside the single-family residence. But she specifically did not say whether she wanted to terminate the TUP or not. But as far as history goes, it seems like she has extended her time as far as the temporary use permit goes, and I I think Chris and Dean might be able to elaborate on that bit a little bit more. I can tell you that the notice that she had posted on the RV occupant's door was a 5-day tenancy notice of eviction, which is the process of an eviction. After that follows a couple more, but if the RV is no longer there, which I have not been able to verify as of today, it would change, it would make a difference because they would be removed from the property.
The RV was supposed to be moved tonight, so we would be able to verify tomorrow that it's off the property.
Okay,
Thank you.
Jeff Goings, that was going to be my question too. So it has not been verified that the RV has been moved. But, I mean, I've been on this board not 6 months yet, and I think this is the third time we've heard this. And I am trying to figure out, we weren't going to give them the special use permit in the first place. And now here we are back at discussing the renewal of another special use permit that we've already denied. And I'm kind of with Director Spross here. I don't understand why, if we've moved the RV, why are we getting a special use permit?
We have a current special use permit. We're here tonight to decide if we're going to extend it or deny it. And the reason why it's inactive is it was approved by the Board of County Commissioners after we failed to approve it. Is there any discussion from the commission or questions? What do you?
Yeah, if they're,
Go ahead, Paul.
so if they are going to move this tonight, could we push it 30 days to verify and then not renew it?
It's my recommendation, it's staff's recommendation, that with the information we received today, with the information that they are going to move the RV tonight, there is no reason to extend a temporary use permit. It's been denied once before. This was really a stopgap for her to get done what she is doing, and it's my recommendation to the board that the permit not be approved based on information received.
Thank you.
Jeff Goings for the record. Paul, I would like to say that we have, as a board, we'd already denied the approval of, or the renewal of this special use permit due to it didn't meet all the criteria.
I'm not disputing it.
No. And so,
whatsoever.
again, I'm
Yeah.
on that line is that another 30 days, what's that going to do? We're still right at the same place.
Nope, I agree 110%. I was only going off the fact that we don't know if it was moved or
I
not.
understand, yeah. No,
Go ahead.
May I ask legal counsel, what is our,
So here's what I'm going to say is based off of the evidence provided today, it's unlikely that you'd be able to find the facts required to extend the temporary use permit because the applicant isn't here and all the evidence indicates that the permit is no longer necessary. But if you choose to table it, then I don't have an ability to stop you from that. My recommendation wouldn't be that, but that's up to you.
tabled it?
Is there any other discussion or questions from the commission? Keeping in mind that the property owner only tried to extend the permit so she could be legal in order to remove these people from the property. Her full intention, once she found out that they did not qualify, she wanted to remove the people. That's what she's doing now. So can I have, if there's no discussion, is there any public comment on this matter? None heard. Laura?
Laura Lively Barron for the record. I just wanted to state that regardless of the Planning Commission's decision, it would still have code enforcement involvement, follow it until case closure.
Thank you. As for a motion for the decision of this matter?
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. I move that we do not extend the temporary use permit on parcel number 006-292-48 at this time.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Goings, second by Commissioner Nelson to deny extend this temporary use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Temporary use permit has been denied. Agenda item 8, old business. Item D, review of special use permit that was previously granted to Paul and Tiffany Picotti for property located at 2030 Reno Highway.
Okay, I'll go ahead and recuse myself and step
Yes,
down
please.
before
Yes.
the board.
Please, okay. Director Spross, you have to summarize this application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you recall, this agenda item was tabled at the August 9th meeting. It was tabled to give Mr. Picotti the opportunity to satisfy the requirements of the conditions of the special use permit. I've driven by the property. There was two outstanding items. One of the items was fencing in the backyard, in the back, so that traffic could not go from the parking lot into the driveway to the north and vice versa. And the other was a determination from NDOT that they were going to include the driveway or approach improvements in an upcoming project that they have. I have driven by the project several times, or the property, and Mr. Picotti has installed a temporary fence along the north property line, which prevents any traffic from entering or exiting the property. And I will let Mr. Picotti describe conversations that he has had with NDOT with regards to the second condition.
This applicant.
Paul Picotti for the record. Yep, so I got in touch with NDOT at a couple different, with a couple different avenues, and they did not have this within their current project. So that's not saying it won't come, to fruition here in the future, but as of right now, they are not going to do it. Actually today, they're putting in a new drain in front of the building because they have water runoff issues, which they're fixing with the DI on that northwest side of parcel 55 there. So they are making some improvements, but the sidewalk won't be done by NDOT. So I went to A&K to get an estimate, and they gave me a rough estimate, which I accepted and told them, give me an official one and we'll get on the books for putting that sidewalk in the front. It will take a little bit of time. Like A&K is doing our back driveway, and it was supposed to be done, let's say, I want to say he was going to be in there about June, and they're just getting to it. So the back parking lot will be done here in the next month. So that's a 4-month extension from what they had, previously told us. So I can't give an estimate on when the sidewalk project would be done. So, I guess we're just looking for, some sort of extension that's reasonable for the board that we can meet to have A&K get to do the job and complete it. He did tell me it would take about 3 days to do the job from beginning to end. They didn't see any issues with it. It was pretty straightforward for them. NDOT, I'm still going to push with them to work with me on the project because the current road height is 18 inches above where it started when those buildings were constructed. So I'm hoping that NDOT understands that and maybe they'll come in and help us out with the project in the future. If they don't, it doesn't matter. We're still willing to pay for the project. And I spoke with Director Spross the other day so that you guys get a warm fuzzy. We're absolutely willing to put, once we get the estimate from A&K, we're willing to put that money into some sort of account that, will be earmarked for this project from A&K. So when A&K finishes the project, then we take the money and give A&K their money for doing the project on it. That way, the county's ensured that the project is going to be done, the funds are in place for it. It's only a matter of time, with A&K for them to come in and complete the project.
Thank you. Director Spross, is there any conditions on this application that he has to, any deadlines he has to meet, and can we extend it? What is our options?
The Board of County Commissioners approved, this is a little bit, I'll explain the background. Prior to recording the map, these improvements either had to be constructed or a financial security had to be put up for the construction. Mr. Picodi requested from the Board of County Commissioners that he be allowed to record the map for financial reasons, and then put up the financial security for the improvements. The Board of County Commissioners approved that for a period of 120 days. That 120-day period expired, I think at the last meeting, it had expired a couple of weeks. So it's probably 6 weeks expired past that 120 days. And so we need to have some sort of financial security, and I suggest that Mr. Sanford be involved in what that instrument could or should be to protect not only the county but also Mr. Picodi. But we need to have some sort of financial security that these improvements are going to be done. And as soon as we have an opportunity to get a bona fide estimate of what it's going to cost, we would request 110% of the cost of those improvements to be put in to either a bond, a certificate of deposit, or some other financial security.
Sorry.
Mr. Sanford, do you have any comments?
My comment is just going to be that we set out a review hearing in, 1 or 2 months, 6 months. Oh,
This, and the only reason I say 6 months, Mr. Sanford, is NDOT is going to have to design this approach. This is not going to be something that you can go to an engineer for and have them design it. It has to be done by NDOT. This is in their right-of-way. A&K or the contractor is going to have to get an encroachment permit. An encroachment permit will not be granted unless it's been designed by NDOT. That is not going to happen overnight. Now, what we could do is we could do a review of the cost to do the anticipated costs of construction for what the contractor believes NDOT is going to be requiring them to do, and at that point have a hearing to determine the instrument that the county wants for assurance.
so the condition is that it either be built or bonded or some otherwise secured. And so my recommendation is 6 months seems appropriate if there is design work to be done for a review hearing, that if the bond is in place at that time, that no review hearing is necessary because at that time all the conditions will be met. But if it isn't in place at that time, then we would have to review it again.
Thank you. Could the applicant express to the commission why you're here today, like why you couldn't get us good information up until now? What hindered you from being able to meet the guidelines that were set forth?
We just recently got the property split completed. So that parcel split was done, I don't remember the exact date, but it was maybe 3 months ago. And once that was completed, now it's 2 separate parcels, 2 different owners, and the other owners willing to put it in as well. But there has just been a lack of NDOT getting back to us. So I had many calls and emails in. I had to have a friend go to a friend to get an answer out of NDOT. That was really one of the reasons. But also, we were told before I got a definitive answer from NDOT from a contractor that was doing the job that they were doing that because it was within it. So I went off of that thinking it was a go, and then it wasn't actually part of the contract.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Does the commission have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record, and this is Director Spross. If memory serves me, wasn't there an actual number put to that bond that was required by the county commissioners? For some reason, $15,000 is sticking in my head, and I'm trying to figure out where we're at with that.
If I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, the improvement agreement was 110%, and I want to say it was in the neighborhood of somewhere between $50,000 and $55,000.
50 or 55, okay. And I think that at our last meeting on this, that you were going to look into the bond?
Yep.
Where are you at with that?
Yeah, so to do a bond for one simple project it's a whole bunch of paperwork. It's like doing a mortgage, right? To be able to have a bond put in place. Once you're structured to have bonds, then you can continue doing them easily. For me to construct, the ability to have the bonding authority to do that, it's just a whole bunch of paperwork, and dealings with the bond company. I will just put the money up. I'll put all the money in an account. And then when it's done, I take the money out and pay the contractor. So that way I don't have to do the bond. And a bond costs $1,500. No matter what, I will lose the $1,500. I would rather just put the money up into an account and be able to use all of it for the funds, all of those funds to pay the contractor.
So is that something you're willing to do right away then, Paul?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, then the problem's solved then.
Right.
So if you're, because isn't that where we're at right now? If you put the funds up, the 50 or 55,000, and put that forward, then this is null and void. We don't even have to have this discussion, correct?
Right. We're just as of now, A&K is going to give us an official estimate. The number that we had gotten before was from Loomis because I had to have them do up some engineered drawings for that, and they gave us an estimate. So we're getting an official estimate of what the entire project will cost from A&K. They're in the process right now of finalizing it.
So it won't take 6 months for A&K to have you a number.
No.
Yeah.
A&K is going to have us a number within a week or two.
Yeah, so
that the project's going to cost.
I guess my point would be is if A&K is giving you a quote, you can apply that money.
Right.
And now, like I said, and now all this just goes, we don't have to worry about this anymore.
Right, and I'm steering myself a little bit away from the bond because I'm going to lose the $1,500 no matter what. I will put all the money up and we can put it into a secured account or whatever the county would prefer. And then when the project's done, then I can use that money to pay the contractor.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess my point is I think that you can probably get a quote from A&K on this pretty rapidly, or, at least a pretty good estimate, and not have to kick this can down the road another 6 months. So that's kind of where I'm looking at.
Commissioner Hyde?
Okay. Mark Hyde for the record. If we get a bid from A&K, they'll probably have a paragraph in there that's subject to what NDOT is going to require. Because NDOT will, as Sprouse has said, Director Sprouse, there will be engineering by NDOT, and that might change that bid. So my recommendation is let's take whatever A&K says now, and then when we have to have a clause in this agreement that you would put more money in if that bid goes up based on what NDOT requires. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, of course. I have to get the project done. We're going to do the project. A&K is working currently, like as of yesterday, with NDOT on this project for us. So they're both communicating. So NDOT is going to tell them, they know what NDOT's going to tell them, what they need. But that is going to be included with the quote that we get. So there should not be any price changes in it. The price reflected will be in conjunction with NDOT as they're communicating, right now about all of this.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Goins?
Yep. So, I mean, even with what Mark's talking about, at 30 days, you should be able to have this pretty well dialed up by then, I would think. I mean, we're kind of all in the same business, and I know it takes some time to put these together. And again, I know you have to go talk to some authorities and different, but I think in 30 days, we could probably have this hammered out and
Right.
completed, yeah.
Yeah, we'll at least get the estimate in, and we'll have the funds secured.
Yeah.
It'll just be a matter of time for A&K to start the
and
project. It'll be on that
I
timeline.
think this board's fine with that. We understand that the state works at a snail's pace, correct? So, well, I think what they're looking at right now is let's show that you've got the funds in place, so when they are ready to go, we are prepared financially to go. Okay.
Thank you. Is there any other, Commissioner Hyde?
Yeah. Mark Hyde for the record. I know that you might have this in 30 days, but I would do a 6-month so we don't have to come back and do this over again. It's been my experience, working with NDOT, that it'll be more than 30 days. And I think we create a challenge here by giving 30 days and coming back and having the same discussion, so.
I think the limitation
6
for
months.
30 days was just for the estimate.
So will the discussion of the commission, so keep this in mind, Commissioner Goins stated his 30 days is, within 30 days, he can get an official cost from the contractor. Then at that time, within 30 days, he must have the money put in a set-aside account that's approved by the county. And then the county is asking that all construction be complete within 6 months. Is that the way I understand it, Director Sprouse? And is the county acceptable to having the money in an account within 30 days and the construction complete within 6 months?
I think the county is amenable to have a financial instrument in place, whether it's an account or a CD, that has to be worked out within the 30 days. And just because this is a 6-month review does not preclude the applicant from putting that money into that financial instrument sooner than that. But yes, all the conditions of the permit must be met within 60 days, or within 6 months, sorry.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or questions from the commission?
You want to say something?
Mr.
Director
Chair,
Brennan?
and Joe, maybe this is directed more towards you. We're just reviewing the conditions. The planning commission wasn't in on the bond or the financial institute of it. We're just doing the review, and the work wasn't done in the front. And so we're just proving an extension to get that work done. Is that correct, Joe?
That's correct. You can put stipulations as to the time frame of the instrument and things like that as well, but the review today is just to determine whether the conditions have been met. Obviously, we've agreed that this particular condition hasn't met because the sidewalk isn't complete. And so your conditions would be related to ensuring that that project and that piece of the condition gets complete.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Commissioner? Do you find these conditions acceptable to your project?
Yeah, absolutely. And, like we were discussing earlier, once we get the quote, we'll put the money in, not a big deal. Our only stipulation with the 6 month is going to be whether or not A&K is able to get over there and get it done within that 6 month time frame. So we may have to come back and ask for an extension on the basis of A&K's timeline.
Okay. Director Sprouse, do you have any comments about that, or is that doable in 6 months if that's the case? What kind of proof does the applicant need?
I mean, I can't and I won't speak on behalf of NDOT. I think every state agency right now is struggling to get stuff done when they say they're going to get stuff done. I think 6 months is doable as long as NDOT is willing to work with Mr. Picotti to get this designed. I would hate to come back and have to review another extension, but this is something that is not in any of our hands, and we might be forced to have to do that. So and that's why I had pushed the 6 months, just because that's long enough, I think, but it's short enough to kind of feel it a little bit. So I think 6 months is the best guess that we can take at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that there's also the requirement for a screen fence, the permanent screen fence around the back, as well as just clarifying the final parking plan, as that's one thing that we couldn't figure out at the time of the permit, so.
So the parking plan was engineered and submitted with the SOP. So there is an official parking plan with all of the spots required. Currently, that back parking lot will be excavated here within the next week. And then the new driveway will be going in and markings will be going down.
I'm not sure I have that one that you're talking about, so let's just touch bases and double check it.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any further comment?
So, Paul, Jeff Goings, clarification, just make sure everybody's on the same page. What we're looking at is that within 30 days, you have your quote and your funds in place, and then we're shooting for a 6-month completion on that particular portion of the project. But within that 30 days, we'll have at least a portion of what was required fulfilled, in that you have the financial monies in place to fulfill that obligation.
Yeah, as soon as we get the estimate from A&K, we'll set up the account, we'll wire transfer the funds over to it, and then we're secured.
Just want to make sure that you're clear on where I'm kind of headed here with this motion when I get ready to make it, and just make sure everybody's on board here, so.
Yep.
Yep.
Any further discussion from the commission? Is there any public comment concerning this matter? None heard. I ask the commission for a decision. Or motion, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. I move that we extend the time required for this special use permit with the 30-day requirement of funding in place and a 6-month extension to completion of project.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Goings, second by Commissioner Hyde, to extend this application for a period of 6 months. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes?
I have been in your, this is an anecdote on the light side. I have been in your establishment a couple of times, and it's absolutely beautiful, and I've enjoyed myself. But the only thing I recommend, could you get some salt and pepper in your restaurant?
We'll have to be sure to set some aside for
Thank you.
Agenda item 9, public hearing. Item A, temporary use permit for temporary quarters during home construction filed by Kenny and Lori Rhodes for property located at 2007 Soda Lake Road. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application? Please come forward to the table and state your name and address for the record. Push the little red button until it turns green.
Hi, this is Lori and my husband Kenny Rhodes, 2007 Soda Lake Road.
Thank you. Director Spross, summarize the application.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Spross for the record. So this is an application for a temporary use permit. The use table listing is a temporary quarters for home construction. The applicant is Kenny and Lori Rhodes, and the owner is Kenny and Lori Rhodes as well. The site is 2007 Soda Lake Road, which is APN 008-121-81, which consists of 5.04 acres. The designations in the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is an E1. So the applicant is requesting a temporary use permit for temporary quarters for home construction to place a 2018 recreational vehicle on the property during the construction of a home. The RV is not already on site. The backup information for this is in your packet. The findings, criteria review, the findings requires that the Planning Commission find that the criteria for temporary quarters for home construction are met. Staff has reviewed the application and has gone through the criteria, and staff has determined that the criteria for the temporary quarters for home construction has been met. There were comments received from the building department. Their typical comments are that a placement permit is going to be required for the recreational vehicle within 30 days of the approval. There is a $200 fee. The electrical connection to the RV has to be inspected and approved by the building department. A septic system must be permitted, installed, inspected, and approved, and that septic connection to the recreational vehicle must be inspected and approved by the building department. And obviously, before any construction of the home itself, a building permit must be applied for and issued prior to starting construction, The impact fees will be required to be paid at the time of permit issuance for the residents, and inspections of all phases of construction are required. We did receive correspondence from somebody it appears very close to this property, and it is a letter of support for this permit to be approved. Based on that information and the criteria that was reviewed, it is staff recommendations to approve this permit based on the conditions. And I will go through those conditions after, if you have any questions for ourselves or the applicant.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add or questions to address to the commission?
I'm sorry my drawing is so bad, but that's it.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions or discussion?
Chairman?
Commissioner Hyde.
Yeah, Mark Hyde for the record. Could you just give us an idea of your timeline for the construction of the new home?
I'm honest, we're both hoping for 2 years, but it might be stretched out to 3. We're not exactly sure with fees and costs and timelines, and we're not sure if we want to build or do a manufactured.
Okay, so just tell us what, at this point in time, what has been accomplished in terms of, well, you say you don't know for sure if you're going to do a stick-built home or a mobile home. Is that what I'm hearing? Or manufactured housing? You're not sure.
We're
So you don't
not-
have a set of plans yet?
We're not 100% sure, but we are in correspondence with construction companies. And we do have a well already installed, and I do have a lot of paperwork from NV Energy. So we're just waiting.
Okay, so you have a well, and then, and what are the plans for the septic?
How do you word that? I'm not sure. I think.
Do we have to have a permanent one in?
Yes, that would be between you and the building department on your construction. We're just asking for what's your progress level going to be throughout the first year, so there's accountability there.
Oh, we'll have the power and the septic and all of that done. The power and the well completed.
So all the
as well as the
utilities will
septic.
be in? Okay,
So, the first year.
first year, okay.
Is there any other question?
Yeah, well,
Director-
Jeff Goings for the
Commissioner
record. So
Goings?
and I like to do this with every applicant that comes up there. There's some recommendations that we are going to include probably in this motion, depending on how we go, which Director Spross will go through. One of those is, all required building department approvals and safety certificates must be obtained, i.e. water, sewer, and power services that are acceptable to the building department shall be provided to the temporary quarters. So I want you to be aware of that, because when we were talking, when you were just mentioning that right now, that's going to be part of this, is that your sewer is going to have to be a permanent part. Okay. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Is there any other discussion?
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Deal?
And I'm sorry, you do realize that this is a temporary use permit and it needs to be renewed every year?
Correct.
And the progress of your building?
Correct.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or questions? Is there any public comment concerning this matter? None heard. Director Spross, would you like to discuss the recommended conditions if the decision was approved?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, staff has recommended approval, but there are recommended conditions that will not be part of the motion, but will be part of the permit. The first is the temporary quarters must comply with Churchill County Code, including but not limited to: the access road must be upgraded to the county driveway standard, which is 20 feet wide gravel surface strong enough to support a fire truck. All required building department approvals and safety certificates must be obtained, which is water, sewer, and power services that are acceptable to the building department shall be provided to the temporary quarters. Any setup permit necessary for the setup of the temporary quarters must be obtained, along with any required inspections of water, septic, and electrical connections to a service. All necessary permits for home construction must be obtained. The temporary quarters must use temporary construction practices. It may not be placed on a permanent foundation. No manufactured homes may be used as a temporary residence while constructing a home. This temporary use permit is subject to annual renewal. The applicant must show substantial progress of home construction during the annual review hearing. And lastly, once the home construction is complete enough to allow habitation, the RV must be disconnected from water, sewer, and electrical services and be made lawful at its subsequent location. And I will give you this copy of the letter that I received from the the department that outlines kind of what we discussed.
Thank you. Does the applicant have do you have any questions or discussion, or do you understand the recommendations that he just read?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion within the commission? None heard. Would someone like to make a motion for the findings?
Mr. Chair, Zach Bunyard for the record. Based on the information provided in the application and the staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.070B4 regarding a temporary use permit for temporary quarters for home construction.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Deal. The findings have been met. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries unanimous. I now ask for a motion for the decision on this matter.
Mr. Chair, Scott Nelson for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the temporary use permit application for Kenny and Lori Roads to establish a temporary quarters for home construction on 2007 Soda Lake Road, APN 008-121-81. This approval is subject to the conditions as listed in the staff report.
The motion been made by Commissioner Nelson, second by Commissioner Deal for approval of the decision. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. There's a 10-day appeal period approved by the Planning Commission, and at this time, the department will contact you to complete the process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9, public hearing. Item B, temporary use permit for temporary quarters for hardship caretaker filed by Rebecca Ford for property located at 2245 Coleman Road. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the application? Push the little red button. Well, it's already on, so just state your name and address for the record.
Rebecca Ford, 2245 Coleman Road.
Thank you. Director Sprouse, would you like to summarize this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the application is for a temporary use permit. The use table listing is temporary quarters for hardship caretaker. The applicant is Rebecca Ford, and the owner is Rosemary Morin. The site is 2245 Coleman Road, which is APN 008-351-28, which consists of 2.83 acres at Verona Drive. Designation in the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is E1. So the applicant's requesting a temporary use permit for temporary quarters for hardship caretaker and proposes to place a 2019 recreational vehicle on the property. The application indicates that the unit is already on site and is set up for use. Again, the criteria review of the county code requires that the Planning Commission find that the criteria for hardship caretaker quarters are met. The application does indicate that the person needing care is disabled, and applicant has shown proof to staff. Again, there are conditions. We did receive a letter from the building department, which is the following, and again, you will receive a copy of this from me as well. So the building department will require a placement permit for the recreational vehicle, which has a $200 fee, the electrical connection inspection, a plot map with dimensions showing the vehicle's connection to the septic system, and a sewer connection inspection. A search of the records was available in the Churchill County Building Department, and it indicated that an approved septic system is already in use on that site. So the building department states that continued use of that septic system is permitted until there is a failure. If the septic system does fail to operate properly, repair or replacement will require a construction permit to do that from the building department. and that must conform to the current codes in effect at the time of the failure. Based on the application and review of the application and review of the criteria and findings, it is staff's recommendation for approval based on conditions that will be discussed after questions are answered from either staff or the applicant.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add or questions for the commission?
No, the information from the building department, will he?
Yes, he
hand
will.
me? Okay,
Before you leave tonight, actually,
Okay.
it's coming right now.
all right.
Is there any discussion with the commission or questions for the applicant? Is there any public comment concerning this matter? None heard? Do you have any further you'd like to add?
No.
Ask the commission for a motion for the findings.
Mr. Chair, I
I'm
just
sorry.
want the conditions, please.
Please.
So,
Always pass that.
again, staff recommends approval based on some recommended conditions. There are 5 conditions, the first being the temporary quarters must comply with Churchill County Code. Number 2, all building department permitting must be completed within 30 days, as the RV is already on site and set up. That includes inspections of water, septic, and electrical connections. Number 3, the temporary quarters must use temporary construction practices. It may not be placed on a permanent foundation, and it must use the existing water well, power supply, and septic system unless deemed infeasible by the building department. Number 4, when the temporary quarters is no longer needed, it must be removed from the property or otherwise made to be conforming according to county requirements. And finally, this temporary use permit is subject to annual renewal, providing proof that the need still exists, and substantial, oh, sorry, wrong one. That's it. No substantial progress.
Thank you. Now ask for a motion for the findings.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. You've seen these now conditions, and you understand that these conditions are going to be required.
Yeah.
Based on that, Mr. Chairman, let me get up here where I can read this again. I move that the findings have been met for the conformance with the criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08- or .070B3 regarding a temporary use permit for temporary quarters and hardship caretaker.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Goings, second by Commissioner Nelson. Findings have been met. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chair, Zach Leonard for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the temporary use permit application for temporary quarters for hardship caretaker. This approval is subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
The motion has been made with Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Deal. The decision, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. There's a 10-day appeal period, at which time the planning department will contact you to complete the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, public hearing. Item C, temporary use permit for temporary quarters for farm labor filed by Mike and Deborah Johns for property located at 4755 Silver Sage Lane. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the application? Please come forward. Just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Deborah Johns, and we're at 4755 Silver Sage Lane.
Thank you. Director Sprouse, would you like to summarize the application?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is our last temporary use permit for the night. So this application is a temporary use permit. The use listing is temporary quarters for farm labor. The applicant is Mike and Deborah Johns, and the owner is Mike and Deborah Johns as well. The site is 4755 Silver Sage Lane, which is APN 006-811-60, which consists of 5.08 acres. The designation in the master plan is agriculture, and the zoning is A5. So the applicant's requesting a temporary use permit for 2 temporary quarters for farm labor using recreational vehicles. The site was the previous location of the Silver Sage horse boarding business, which also had a TUP for commercial watchmen for the business. That business ceased operations and was sold to the applicants who owned the Longhorn Ranch, which is a large ranching operation with 3 locations in various parts of Nevada. Again, criteria review. The findings requires that the Planning Commission find that the criteria for farm labor quarters are met. Just a little bit of information. Only permitted in conjunction with a bona fide farming or ranching operation, and evidence of an active farming or ranching operation and demonstration of a need would be required. And that demonstration must include evidence that the labor is needed, is greater than what could reasonably be expected of the property owner, evidence that the farm help is an employee of the farm, and/or other circumstances that demonstrate the need of a temporary use permit for farm labor. The Planning Commission shall determine if these circumstances meet the intent of this temporary use. There are some building department comments. Search of the records available in Churchill County Building Department produced a permit for a 2022 Signature Rockwood recreational vehicle issued and approved in 2021. This permit was issued with the notation that this was in conjunction with a temporary use permit. Again, that was the temporary watchman use permit as part of the operation that was there previously. So if this temporary use permit is approved, Churchill County Building Department requires the following prior to occupation of the recreational vehicle. A placement permit must be applied for and issued for the new recreational vehicle within 30 days of the TUP approval. That carries a $200 fee. The electrical connection to the recreational vehicle must be inspected and approved by Churchill County Building Department within 30 days of the permit issuance. Clarification of the status of the sewage disposal system is required. If a new septic system is to be installed, a septic system permit must be applied for, issued, and the new system inspected during construction prior to occupying the recreational vehicle. This again carries a $200 fee. Due to the acreage of this parcel, in addition to the current residential system, a second septic system may legally be installed for the use of the recreational vehicle. And connection of the rec vehicles to the septic system must be inspected and approved. And again, I will give you a copy of this letter from the building department for your use. Based on the information in the application and review of the criteria, the staff does recommend approval. And again, after questions to staff and the applicant, I will go through the recommended conditions that approval is based on. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add or questions for the commission?
I don't have any others, no.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions or discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Deal.
Would you like to tell us why you need farm help?
Yes, we have ranches in Tonopah, Nevada, Paradise Valley, and we have a lease where we run cattle in Gardnerville. And we recently purchased this as kind of a central location because we travel back and forth, and we have help that comes with us. And sometimes we'll be at one end and have somebody receiving something at the other, and it would be nice to have a spot for them to stay rather than, other choices that we would have to figure out later.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any public comment on this matter? None heard. I ask the commission for a decision on the motion for the finding, or excuse me. Director Spross, would you like to review the recommended conditions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Spross for the record. So staff's recommendation was based on the following conditions, and there are 5. Number 1, the temporary quarters must comply with Churchill County Code. Number 2, all required building department approvals and safety certificates must be obtained. A setup permit for the setup of the temporary quarters must be obtained, including any required inspections of water, septic, and electrical connections by the building department. Number 3, the temporary quarters must use temporary construction practices. It may not be placed on a permanent foundation and must share the property's main water well, power supply, and septic system, unless the building department deems that that is not feasible. Number 4, the temporary use permit is subject to annual renewal. And number 5, once farmhands working on the property are no longer living in the RV, it must be removed from the property and disposed of properly, or otherwise be made an approved use through other required permitting processes. And all those 5 conditions are in the staff report, which you received a copy of. Thank you.
Thank you. And the applicant agrees and recognizes those comments?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I ask for a motion of the findings if there's no further discussion.
Mr. Chair, Mark Hyde for the record. I do have a couple of questions. I just want to get a little better picture of what's going on. So in Tonopah, you have an operation.
Yes,
Are you raising cattle in Tonopah?
yes. We have a BLM lease out between Tonopah and Silver Peak, and
Okay.
we run cattle out there.
So is that a summer permit or a winter permit?
No, it's a year-round permit.
It's a year-round permit?
We generally use it in the winter for the most part, but it is a year-round permit.
Okay. And then do you have lodging in Tonopah? Any kind of housing?
We have a cabin in Silver Peak,
Okay.
kind of like a one-room cabin that we stay in.
Okay. And can you give us kind of an idea of how many employees you have?
We have, we had one, and he passed away about 10 days ago. So we're kind of
Sorry
in
to hear
limbo
that.
as far as getting set back up. But we have one permanent employee that was out in Paradise Valley with us. And then we have a caretaker that will stay here on Silver Sage, to kind of, look after things here, and if we leave stock there while we're gone to the other places, we have someone to take care of them.
Okay, so just for clarification, here in Fallon, you'll have a caretaker stay at Silver Sage.
Mhm.
You had an employee who passed away just a few days ago.
Yes.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
The one in Paradise Valley, you have an employee in Paradise Valley?
That was the one that passed away.
Oh.
And he would travel with us if we needed help at the different places, or, we'd send him to one end while we ship cattle through, or, anyway, as we're coming here to work out of here, we needed a spot for him to stay. And we plan on filling that position as soon as we can find someone.
And so that person normally would stay in Paradise Valley unless you want to,
He
Have him
helped us
come
in
to
Silver Peak
Gardnerville
as
or-
well.
okay. And in Gardnerville, that's a lease, a summer
Yes.
lease?
Yes.
Okay. So currently you have one employee
Mhm.
who's a caretaker here in Fallon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he's staying in one of the residences, and you want another one for this new employee that you're going to hire. So when you have to move him around, he has a place to stay. I just want to have a
Correct.
better picture of what
Yes.
you had.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion from the commission? At this time, I ask for a motion for the findings.
Mr. Chair, Scott Nelson. Based on the information provided in this application.
Excuse me, Scott.
Based on the information provided in the application and the staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for a temporary use permit for temporary quarters for farm labor, thereby meeting the criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.070B1 as described in the staff report.
Motion been made by Commissioner Nelson, second by Commissioner Goings. The findings have been met for this matter. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the application for temporary use permit for Mike and Deborah Johns at Longhorn Ranch to establish temporary quarters for farm labor at 4755 Silver Sage Lane, APN number 006-811-60. This approval is subject to the conditions as listed in the staff report.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Goings, seconded by Commissioner Deal for the decision. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. There's a 10-day appeal period, in which time the planning department will contact you to complete the process.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Fallon. Agenda item 9, item D, special use permit for fabrication business filed by Antonio Morin Romero for property located at 8920 R Lane. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application? Please come forward and just hit the red button there and state your name and address for the record.
Nancy Moran and Antonio Moran Romero, 8920 R Lane.
Thank you. Director Sprouse, would you like to summarize the application?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application is for a special use permit. The use listing is industrial and fabrication. The owner is Sierra Nevada Gates and Panels, which is Antonio Romero. The owner is Aurelia Romero Peru. The site is 8920 R Lane, which is APN 007-151-85, which consists of 1 acre. The designation in the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is C2. So the applicant and the owner live on the property in an existing home. The property is located on R Lane, which is almost entirely residences, but all the lots are zoned C2 commercial. So this commercial use is allowed. Due to the extensive outside activity and the closeness of residential uses, a special use permit is required. The business is proposed at the applicant's home. While it has similarities to a home business, it probably could not be approved as a home business, so it is being proposed as a standard business. The application proposes to establish a gates and panels fabrication business on the property, with the home serving as the office and an existing shed, which is located on the west property line, serving as the fabrication building. No additional structures will be installed. The welding will take place in the shop, which is insulated. Product will be stored around the margins of the property behind the home after the animal feeding pens are removed, which is currently underway. The rear of the property fronts Reno Highway, so a street setback applies along that property line. A sign is proposed along that side at the northwest corner. Standard weekday and hours are proposed. Few or no employees are proposed. The only current one will be the owner. No customers will visit the site as products are directly delivered to them. Incoming traffic will primarily be materials delivered and similar traffic. External raw material storage is proposed to be screened, and pipe clanging and welding noise will be contained inside the shop, which is insulated and will reduce noise. So there's 5 criteria that must be met as part of the finding review. The first is compatible with the existing surrounding land uses and development. The surrounding land uses are predominantly residential lots, 1 acre lots. However, through the application review, staff has determined that criteria has been met. Number 2, is it in substantial conformance with the master plan and policies and will be constructed and operated in full compliance of this code? The proposed use is industrial fabrication facility, and it's listed in the table with the development code, which is allowed in C2. Therefore, staff has determined that criteria has been met. Item number 3, the project will be constructed and operated in a manner that will not overburden public services and infrastructure. There are no public services there. The public road infrastructure will be discussed in the conditions. But staff has determined that criteria has been met. Number 4, adequately mitigates road and traffic impacts generated by the construction and the build-out of the project. There really is no build-out. There is no planned customer visits. There will be minimal employee visits, and there will be some material delivery that will take place. And staff has determined that has been met. The road supervisor has determined that because there will be truck traffic, that there will have to be either paved or concrete aprons installed, and that will be deemed necessary by the road supervisor, so he will be in contact with the applicant. Number 5, it does not create an adverse environmental impact, including but not limited to noise, glare, fumes, and odor that may be detrimental either to public health, public safety, or general welfare of the persons or property in the vicinity or the wildlife and/or natural resources. The only 2 that staff determined was noise from fabricating material items. The insulation of the shed takes care of that. There may be minimal dust from vehicle traffic. And it's recommended that there will be some gravel on any sort of driving surfaces, but staff has determined that that criteria has been met. We did receive comments from NDOT, as this is within the NDOT right-of-way, and I will give you a copy of this so you have that. So NDOT's comments were that any proposed work within the NDOT right-of-way will require an encroachment permit. There is no work that will be done in the NDOT right-of-way. The property takes access from Ara Lane. Signage will not be permitted within the NDOT right-of-way. It's been determined that the signage will be at the front of the business on Ara. This letter does not provide for approval or disapproval of any improvements proposed by the project. NDOT review during the occupancy permit process may result in modification. There are, again, no improvements on the NDOT right-of-way. And then finally, the state defers to the municipal government for land use development decisions. That's why we're here today. So they're putting that back on us in terms of land use. Based on the review of the criteria and the findings and staff finding that those have been met, it is staff recommendation for approval. And again, there will be comments, substantial conditions that will be read once questions have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add, or do you have discussion, questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions or discussion for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Going for the record. A couple questions. So the materials that you'll be using to fabricate, will those materials be like shipped from out of state, or do you think they will mostly be delivered like on a daily basis from the local areas?
They will mostly be shipped from out of state, like the,
Out of state?
yeah.
So then the one concern that I would potentially have on this is that those materials not received at midnight when everybody else around you is trying to sleep and you're running a forklift, you follow what I'm saying? And that can happen. It happens when we bring materials in from out of state or from, not local areas. So that would be, concern that I can see that I would have with it. Even though you are C2, you're kind of living in a residential area and you got to be conscious of your neighbors.
Yeah, no, definitely. And any materials would be delivered during business hours.
Another comment on that matter, Jeff, as Commissioner Goins stated, the deliveries, sometimes the shipping people, they show up early, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then they park outside your business with their truck running, and then your neighbors start complaining. So just wanted to bring that up to maybe address that with your drivers as they're coming in, if this does get approved, to maybe park somewhere else, so you don't have to deal with that.
Perfect, thank you.
Is there any other commission discussion or questions? Commissioner
Mr.
Hyde.
Chairman, Mark Hyde for the record. As I've thought about this, it really is, that zoning, it's crazy. All along the highway, it should be C2. I don't know how we got residential there, but because we do have residences there, we have to be solicitous of them, right? But because this is a business and you're putting in a business, this is a gateway into Fallon. So I was thinking today, what kind of landscaping are you envisioning along the highway there?
So right now, we're putting up trees and, well, he's putting up trees and bushes as well, so all around the property.
So those, the trees and bushes that you're planting, that will form also kind of a screening that will...
Yeah, it will be
Okay.
kind of a barrier in between
Barrier.
all neighbors and the street as well.
Okay. And talk to us about the sign for just a minute. The sign that you have in the corner there.
So we propose to put a business sign there. We can move it backwards a little bit and put it more on the property, but just that way, since it is coming into Fallon, to have a little bit of more of, yeah, a little bit more view of customers, and so they could give us a call.
And who are your customers?
It's mostly like ranches and like, it'll be like cattle, any livestock paneling.
Right. So, so I kind of had an understanding that when you fabricate, you're actually taking this to, you're selling at wholesale and somebody else is dealing with the public. Am I wrong on that? Are individuals coming to your place to buy gates and corrals and?
So they wouldn't be coming, it would be mostly an online business, but he would
Oh, you
be.
deliver?
Yeah, he would be delivering as well.
Okay, so I'm glad we got that straightened out. I thought you were delivering to some wholesaler.
No, he would
who
be
is
delivering
selling
to
retail,
customers.
But you're delivering to the customer, okay. All right, thank you.
So we've sat here long enough now, of course, I found another question. Do you paint your panels?
Do you paint your panels?
Just the wells.
You will paint them?
Yeah.
So that could be another concern we would have, and I don't even know if that was something that was considered during this process. But, you know, you've got a lot of residences around there. I would recommend that if we were to prove this, that painting would have to take place also inside of an enclosed area, so that you're not affecting your neighbors with paint smells and stuff that's could be coming from that.
Yes, sir. We use just spray cans and
Oh, just rattle can, you
just spray cans because we spray just the wells, not the whole panel.
So they're galvanized pipes?
so you're just covering your welds with paint, is what you're doing, okay. Okay, so it's a galvanized panel with, okay. So that's why I was wondering, are we gonna be, okay. Much different, thank you.
Is there any other discussion from the commission?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Deal.
And you have storage for your materials?
Yeah, so all of the fencing has been removed, and he's in the process also of leveling all of that out. So that's where he's planning on storing.
And the only traffic you'll have is the delivery people?
Correct. And then him
And you're
going
not
out.
planning any signage or outdoor lighting or anything like that?
I'm sorry, what was that? Any signage or what?
Pardon me?
Any signage or what was, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? As for public comment concerning this matter? There's no public comment. At this time, we'll look to Director Strasser to review the recommended conditions. I would like to discuss item 2. Council would like to add at the end, or until a variance is obtained.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, could you repeat?
Number 2?
Yeah?
The council would like to add at the end,
Oh, I
and/or
see what you're saying.
until a variance is obtained.
Okay. So, and I think moving forward, I think it makes more sense for me to actually read the conditions prior to the questions, because a lot of the questions that were asked are actually being answered in the conditions. So moving forward, we'll go that
Start
route.
way. Yep.
So, again, staff has recommended approval, and it's based on the following conditions. 8 in total with some subsections in between there. So number 1, the permit is limited to operation by Antonio Romero only. It may not be transferred to another person or a different location. Number 2, the business may not operate until the friction zone standards are met for the home to the west, or a variance has been applied for and approved by this commission. Number 3, the fabrication business is limited to the following operation limits. No employees are authorized other than the people living in the on-site home. B, no customers are allowed on site. The finished products must be delivered to customers off-site. C, hours of operations are limited to Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. D, all fabrication activity, bending, welding, assembly of pieces, etc., must take place in the shop building with the doors closed. And E, if these limits are exceeded, the business should move to a suitable commercial location. Number 4, this permit is subject to review by the Planning Commission in 1 year for compliance with conditions of approval and code requirements. Thereafter, review shall be conducted annually from the date of approval until such time as this commission deems that they are not needed. Number 5, the facility must comply with Churchill County Code, including but not limited to screening the outside material storage area. B, installation of gravel or another acceptable dust control on vehicular parking and driving surfaces. C, provide 6 parking spaces. D, installation of an access apron at driveway connection points on R Lane as deemed necessary by the road supervisor. Number 6, the facility must comply with the building code, including but not limited to ADA accessible parking spaces, entries, and restrooms as deemed necessary by the building official. And you will want to talk to them about that, about what your operation is. B, conversion of the residence to commercial use as deemed necessary by the building official. C, conversion of the fabrication shop to commercial use as deemed necessary by the building official. And D, upgrading the septic system as deemed necessary by the building official. Again, those are all conversations you're going to have with the building department. Number 7, on-site driving surfaces shall be gravelled. And finally, number 8, operations shall be conducted in a manner that does not create a nuisance, whether public or private, under Nevada law or Churchill County Code. These conditions are in the staff report, which you should have received a copy of, which I'm hoping you have because the conditions are listed in there for your reference. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Dean
Does the
Patterson
applicant-
for the record, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Patterson?
I just wanted to emphasize the point with the applicant that you need to come back in and do the variance. And I know you probably don't really know what that means, but it's another permit. And it was basically because there's a house very close to your business, and normally there has to be more space, but you basically have to come and ask to have that distance reduced so that you can do the business. So please come and talk to us in the next day or two.
Thank you. Does the applicant have any questions, or do you understand the recommendations?
No questions, we understand.
Thank you. Does the commission have any further questions or discussion? None heard. I ask for a motion for the findings.
Mr. Chair, Zach Winter for the record. Based on the information provided in the application and staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.080H for a special use permit for fabrication business.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Nelson. The findings have been met. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries unanimous. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chairman, just a point quickly, Council, do we need to have this additional piece that you were asking for on number 2, where the standards are met for the home to the west or the variance is approved? Do we need to add that into these before we make the motion?
You can just say it when you make your motion for approval, that it's subject to the conditions as presented today at this meeting.
And it does not state about the variance in our...
Right, which is why it's as we presented it.
Okay, so
He presented it.
All right, very good. Mr. Chairman, means I got the microphone. Based on the previously adopted findings made for the project, I move to approve the special use permit application for Antonio Romero of Sierra Nevada Gates and Panels to authorize a fabrication business on APN 007-151-85. This approval is subject to conditions as listed in the staff report.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Goings, second by Commissioner Deal. Approval of the decision. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. There's a 10-day appeal period, and at which time the planning department will contact you to complete the process.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Agenda item 9, item E, special use permit for a private educational facility filed by Fallon Homeschooling Co-op, DBA Virtus, for property located at 665 Sheckler Road. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the application? This is going much faster than I thought. Thank you. Please push the little red button there. State your name and address for the record.
Brooke Allen, 4050 Santa Fe Drive.
And if he's going to speak,
Mike Rosario,
your address?
home address,
Yes.
1908 Albert Street.
Thank you. Director Sprostak to summarize the application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application is for a special use permit. The use listing is educational facility, and it's private. The applicant is Veritas Fallon Homeschooling Co-op, and the owner is the Grace Bible Church. The site is 665 Sheckler Road, which is APN 006-191-22, and consists of 5 acres. The designation in the master plan is urbanizing and agriculture, and the zoning is A5. So the applicant is requesting a special use permit for a private educational facility to be co-located on the Grace Bible Church site. It will take place on the previous Logos Christian Academy, though that school took some of the portable buildings when it had moved. At the time of the last SUP, Logos had a student body of approximately 60 students, though the Veritas application states that they had 115 students when the school moved. Veritas anticipates starting with over 50 students and 7 teachers. Standard school days and hours are anticipated. So very little will change compared to the previous operation for Logos, other than being of a smaller scale, though it is possible the operation could grow to a similar size. Different buildings and their uses are described in detail in the application. Little or no additional renovation is expected, and little or no change to the parking and traffic circulation pattern is expected. Existing power, septic, and well water facilities will be used. So again, there's five criteria that the board needs to determine have been met. The first, is it compatible with the existing surrounding land uses and development? The master plan designates this area as urbanizing and agriculture. And after review of the code and the application, staff does find that this criteria has been met. Number 2, is it in substantial conformance with the master plan and policies and will be constructed and operated in full compliance of this code? Again, after review, it has been determined by staff that it does meet this criteria. Number 3, the project will be constructed and operated in a manner that will not overburden public services and infrastructure. There are no public services, whether sewer or water, in that section of Sheckler Road. And therefore, staff has determined that that criteria has been met. Number 4, adequately mitigates road and traffic impacts generated by the construction and build-out of the project. Expected traffic trips they're expected to be less than the previous school. The highway access apron is paved, and the highway capacity will not be affected more than the previous situation. So staff has determined that that criteria has been met. And lastly, number 5, it does not create an adverse environmental impacts, including but not limited to noise, glare, fumes, and odor that may be detrimental either to public health, public safety, or general welfare of the persons or property in the vicinity, or the wildlife and or natural resources. With this educational facility being very similar to the previous one, it could have some noise impacts to the nearby residential uses from playground. However, it's mitigated by the fact that the site has had playground activity in larger numbers in the past. So staff, again, does determine that this criteria has been met. Prior to issuing our recommendation, we did get some correspondence. We got some from the building department. It said that the search of records available in Churchill County does indicate that a construction permit was approved for a septic system on that site, and a certificate of occupancy approving the construction and authorizing its use was found in the files. And again, continued use of the septic system is permitted until it fails. If it does fail, it will need to be replaced, and need to be replaced with a septic system that conforms to the code that is in effect at the time of failure. And there are no changes to these buildings, and all have been previously inspected and approved by this department. We received correspondence from the Department of Transportation. Their general comments were this proposal appears to have minimal impact on NDOT infrastructure, therefore they have no concerns with the proposal. We did get 2 letters of correspondence from NDEP, and I would like to read a portion of these into the record. We've had some conversation with NDEP, and basically what they're saying is the previous school had a chlorinator and reverse osmosis system to treat for arsenic, iron, and manganese. The treatment systems were purchased by the previous school, and when they left, the treatment was taken with them. Last, the Bureau of Safe Drinking Water heard the church was looking for a like treatment system. If the school does not currently have a treatment system, they will need to be put on a do not drink order, and bottled water needs to be provided. To become a permitted public water system, the facility will need to provide the following: a plan to operate with the new school's name and information. They must provide water treatment for arsenic, iron, and manganese exceedance. Until treatment is provided, bottled water needs to be provided and the attached public notice posted. I have a copy of the notice. The regulations state a non-community, non-transient water system such as this one requires a certified water operator to run the water system. And finally, routine samples will need to resume collection. So basically what NDEP is saying is that the treatment system that was there for the previous business is no longer there, and a new system will need to be put in place, and a certified operator has to operate that system. It does state in our conditions that, while I will read momentarily, that the school must remain in compliance with all state and federal requirements, including but not limited to those related to schools, health, and sanitation. And because the way that that condition is read, that's why I wanted to put that comment in from NDEP, so that everybody was aware that there currently is a situation that does not conform to the state requirements. So with that, staff has recommended approval based on these following conditions. Number 1, the project must be in conformance with county code, including but not limited to no exterior alterations are approved in this permit. Any light fixtures, outdoor storage, etc. must be reviewed for compliance with county code. Any increase in signage area must be approved by the Planning Commission. B, all necessary building permits must be obtained. And C, no additional friction zone setbacks are required. Number 2, the Sheckler Road approach apron shall be cleaned and kept clear of gravel or other material that prevents a clean acceleration. That's a 45-mile-an-hour NDOT road, and we want to make sure that there is no impedance of people merging onto that highway. Number 3, as mentioned, the school must remain in compliance with all state and federal requirements, including but not limited to those related to schools, health, and sanitation. And finally, operations shall be conducted in a manner that does not create a nuisance, whether public or private, under Nevada law or Churchill County Code. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions, as I'm sure the applicant will as well.
Thank you. Does the applicant like to add anything at this time? Do you have comments or questions?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Do you?
okay, thank you. Does this commission have any questions or discussion for the applicant or Director Sprouse?
Chairman Mark Hyde, for the record. I'm a little confused about the numbers of students that you anticipate. Could you tell us,
We currently have 55.
so you have 55?
Yep.
Is that a number that will continue to grow, or you think that's kind of a
I'm
static
sure,
level?
yeah, I'm sure it will grow. I mean, the size is what it is, so there's only so many that we can accommodate, but yeah, I'm sure. We started with 44 and now we have 55.
Okay. And you participate with the DSA account, the distributive school account, does that,
The what? Sorry.
with the state? I know it's private, but,
It's not a private school, it's a homeschool co-op.
okay.
We're going to work on becoming a private school, but for right now, it's a homeschool co-op.
So there's no state or federal funding?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, Chris Sprouse for the record. I do have a question for the applicant. Is the current building have a fire sprinkler system in it that you're aware of?
It does, that I am aware of. And we have had that, I know we've had Mitch in there regularly, I don't know, every year, but to inspect that. And so,
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Jeff,
Zachford.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Zach.
So I did have a question kind of leading into like what Chris said for like an occupancy level. I mean, has Mitch been there to review this plan for this business at all?
No,
And is that a stipulation that we should add?
Sorry, what was the question?
Has Mitch been there to review this new business for like the occupancy levels and that?
So when we get an application such as this, we send it to all of our departments, the fire department, sheriff, and things like that, and ask for comments back from them. We did not receive a comment back from the fire department, and typically, if they do have a concern, they would send us a comment. But I don't think it would hurt to put in a condition that there be a current inspection done on the fire system prior to occupancy, just to make sure that it is sound and in compliance with what the fire marshal deems necessary.
Good thought. And then add that, and then also from a level of occupancy, you know, the amount of people and things like that to determine if it's sustainable or not.
Jeff
Thank you.
Goings for the.
One moment. Diane, did you have a question?
As part of the business license application, the fire marshal and the building department have to sign off.
Thank you.
So,
Commissioner Goins.
kind of a twofold question here. So now, legal counsel, actually, given this documentation we have here, according to this, it does not meet state requirements with their water system.
It doesn't fit in bottled water.
So they have to do the bottled water, but that should not affect any of the other, do we need to, this actually requires them at some point to put the system in, correct? Or continue to do bottled water at all times?
Correct.
We have the new water system and we also have bottled water. We have both.
So what your current recommendation, or the currently recommended conditions will do, will be to require them to operate under the bottled water until NDEP signs off on whatever the new water system is. Once that's done, they can begin operating under the new water system.
And Chris Sprouse, for the record, we, for our files, would like to get a copy of the statement from NDEP that certifies your system, as well as certifies you as the operator of that system, so we have that for our records.
Okay.
Is there any other, Commissioner Deal?
Explain to me what exactly is a homeschool co-op? I know what homeschooling is, but.
Sure, yeah, so it was a bunch of parents when there was a split at the other school. So a bunch of parents got together not knowing what to do. They were all going to homeschool their children, and instead of each individual family homeschooling their child, we decided to make it a group thing, is essentially what we did.
Okay, and you say you have 7 teachers?
Yeah, learning coaches, yep.
Are these accredited teachers or what?
No, well, some of them I'm sure are. I don't know if they all are or not, but I don't.
So when you have a home school, it's not necessarily that you have to have accredited teachers teaching.
Correct.
It can
Like,
be
I
just
homeschool one of my
parents.
kids, and then one of my kids goes to Veritas. So, yeah, with homeschooling, you don't need any sort of license.
So you don't have any stipulations at all as to what you can teach or?
Correct. You come up with your own curriculum. I mean, you have to, there's rules. You can't just stick your kid in front of a YouTube channel all day. But as far as like a homeschooling mom, just speaking as a homeschooling mom, I fit my curriculum to my kid. And so we found the best curriculum for each grade, and that's what we're going with.
Okay, now, do they go to regular school and then come here after school?
No.
Or they just come
They
there?
just come, yep, they just come to Veritas.
I'm just curious because I'm a former teacher.
Oh,
I'm
I see,
retired.
okay. Yeah,
So
it's also
I-
called microscape schooling. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've heard of that. It's the same idea as microschooling.
And what grades?
Kindergarten through 8th,
So in other words, in high school, they need to go.
yeah, yep.
So,
Curiosity question again,
sorry.
I expound on, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were
Yes.
done. Apologize, didn't mean to interrupt.
After the 8th, so are they actually prepared for high school?
I think so.
You think so?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I homeschool my 4th grader, and he does 6th grade math and 5th grade reading, and so as far as I'm concerned, yeah. And the grades, the amount of children in each room is considerably smaller than a public school, so you can get through a lot more material.
Well, they probably get a lot of
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah, and you can
tutoring.
cater things more to each individual child because there's 5 or 6 instead of 20 or 25. So,
Okay.
all the previous learning coaches that we have right now were teachers at Logos. So every one of them has teaching experience, but it's not a thing required for homeschool.
I'm just curious, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I do have a question, and if I don't get it answered real quick, I forget what I was going to ask. So, so is your program, the program itself is accredited, correct? It's an
All the curriculum we're using
The curriculum is an
accredited.
accredited curriculum.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, that was one thing I wanted to, because I got a little experience on this homeschool stuff
Yeah.
from the High School Rodeo Association, and I'm telling you, if you don't have an accredited program, it can really get dicey, okay.
Yeah, so all of it's accredited, and we're members of like there's a homeschooling association, there's a Christian private school association kind of thing. We're members of that too, so.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Call for public comment at this time? None heard. Director Spross, do you have anything to add?
No, I do have one question for the applicant. I apologize. Are the learning coaches, are they all parents of the kids that will be homeschooled?
Some of them. Some of them are grandparents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now ask the commission if there's no further discussion for a decision on the findings of this matter.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mark Hyde for the record. Based on the information provided in the application and the staff report and heard here tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with the criteria found in CCC 16.08.080H for a special use permit for an educational facility private.
The motion been made by Commissioner Hyde, seconded by Commissioner Nelson, that the findings have been met. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I now ask for a motion for the decision of this matter.
Mr. Chair, Scott Nelson for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the special use permit application for Veritas Fallon Homeschooling Co-op to authorize an educational facility at 665 Sheckler Road, APN 006-191-22. This approval is subject to the conditions as listed in the staff report.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Nelson, second by Commissioner Goins for approval of this decision. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. There's a 10-day appeal period, at which time the planning department will contact you to complete the process.
Okay.
Thank you, and good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. The air conditioner's going in the standby mode. I'll get it.
Agenda item 9, public hearing. Item F, a zone change application filed by 40 Mile Desert LLC for property located northeast of Hazen. Is there anyone here to speak on this application? Please come forward. Make your microphone green, state your name and business address for the record.
Sorry. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Corey Hunt. Our business address is 241 Ridge Street in Reno.
Thank you. Director Spross, would you like to summarize this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Sprouse for the record. So the application is a zoning map amendment from RR20 to industrial. The use listing is a vacant lot. If you recall, a special use permit was approved for the rocket motor testing by this board a couple of meetings ago, or a meeting ago. The applicant is 40 Mile Desert LLC, which is Harvey Whittemore. The owner is 40 Mile Desert LLC. The representative is Mr. Corey Hunt. The site is APN 009-291-09. There is no address. For reference, it is 4 miles northeast of Hazen. It is 640 acres. Section 7, Township 20 North, Range 27 East. The designation in the master plan is industrial, and the existing zoning is RR20. The proposed change to the zoning is going to change the full property to industrial. So the applicant's requesting to change the zoning on the property from the existing RR20 to industrial. The Planning Commission recently approved a special use permit for Castellion rocket motor testing site. Since that use was not allowed in RR20 zoning district, the permit may not proceed unless the property is rezoned to industrial. This proposed rezone is in support of the rocket motor testing permit. If this rezone request is denied, the rocket motor testing facility cannot be established. The SUP also required that the existing legal and physical access problems be resolved. The proposed industrial zoning district allows a much wider range of uses than the RR20, specifically related to industrial uses, and the request is for the full section of land, which is 1 square mile. However, the application indicates that this large property is only planned for use by that rocket testing facility. There are no plans for further development. The applicant has verbally indicated that the only long-range use that has been discussed is a possible solar farm. So in reviewing the request, the Planning Commission should refer to findings for a zoning map amendment. There are two. There are several subsections. So number 1, before a zoning map amendment may be recommended for approval, the applicant shall provide evidence to the commission and the board concerning the physical use of land and zoning currently existing in the general vicinity and which have occurred in the previous 5-year time period, and describe it. So one of the subsections, how growth and/or development factors in the community support the change in land use. The rezone request is in support of the rocket testing facility. There's no other plans for development due to the lack of utilities. So staff agrees that industrial growth at the U.S. Parkway in Fernley is nearing capacity, and this would be a good location for it. B, the change in land use represents orderly development and that adequate services and infrastructure to support the proposed land use are available in the area. The rocket testing facility needs no infrastructure, and emergency services have been addressed in the SUP. So staff agrees that that has been met. The change in zoning provides for an appropriate use of this land. The master plan calls for industrial use in this area. This would facilitate that. So staff agrees that has been met. The proposed zoning is in substantial conformance with the master plan and other adopted plans. The best future use may be solar energy, but the rocket testing facility does not present challenges to it. So staff agrees the master plan policies do encourage industrial development. And E, the proposed zoning and project is sensitive to and compatible with the use and development of the adjacent properties. Much of that was addressed in the special use permit. The power transmission line was an area of concern, but that was mitigated in the SUP. And so staff agrees that the compatibility of the nearby uses has been met. The second is the commission, in forwarding a recommendation to the board for approval of a zoning map amendment or a consolidated development code amendment, shall make the following findings of fact. A, that the proposed amendment is in substantial compliance with and supports the goals and policies of the master plan. That has already been discussed, and staff does agree with that. B, that the proposed amendment will provide for land uses compatible with existing adjacent land uses and will not have any detrimental effects to other properties in the vicinity. The rocket testing facility is the only approved industry in that area. The remainder of that area remains vacant, so staff feels that that has been met as well. And finally, that the proposed amendment will not negatively impact existing or planned public services or facilities and will not adversely impact the public health, safety, and welfare. As this commission knows, there is no infrastructure out there, and in terms of safety with regards to police and fire department, that has all been addressed in the special use permit. There are some public road issues that need to be addressed, and the applicant is currently working with the road supervisor to address issues of runoff, drainage, and potential failure of the existing roads that go to that site. So staff has reviewed all the findings and all the supporting documentation and does recommend approval of this zone change to support the previously approved SUP. With that, I'm sure the applicant or myself will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they wish to add? Thank you. Does the commission have any discussion or questions for the applicant or Director Spross? None heard?
Mr. Chair, I do apologize. I did receive a phone call today. It was not a phone call in support or in opposition. It was somebody that was asking if this gets rezoned, what that will do to his taxes. I was not able to contact that person, but as we all here know that this rezone is specific only to the property owned by the applicant and will not affect any of the surrounding property. We did receive another telephone call from an applicant that is in support. She was here at the SUP hearing and had made some comments. But she is in support of the rezone. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this matter? None heard, and if there's no other discussion from the commission, I ask for a motion for the findings.
Mr. Chair, Zach Winder for the record. Based on the information provided in the application and the staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with the zone map amendment criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.060E to rezone portions of the property to industrial.
A motion been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Goings. The motion of the findings have been approved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chair, Paul Picotti for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made by this project, I move to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve the request for a zoning map amendment for 40 Mile Desert LLC to change the zoning on portions of APN 009-291-09.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Pacody, second by Commissioner Goins for the findings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Chair, that application will be forwarded to the October 5th meeting for the Board of County Commissioners.
Agenda item 9, public hearings. Item G, variance application filed by Jessica Stenger, manager of Nev Dev LLC for property located on Desert Hills Loop. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the application? Please state your name and business address for the record.
Dan McCreary, and our business address is 111 Robertson Lane.
And Jessica Stanker.
Thank you. Director Spross, you summarize the application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Spross for the record. So this application is a variance from the 5-acre lot size requirement for land divisions. The use listing is single-family residences. The applicant is Nev Dev LLC, which is Ms. Stanger and Mr. McCreary. The owner is Nev Dev LLC. The site is, there is no address. It is on Desert Hills Loop, and it has an APN of 008-176-82 and is 16.48 acres. The designation in the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is E1. This is an application that was postponed from the May 2023 meeting at the request of the applicant. And this is a kind of a two-part. We have the variance followed immediately by the application for the tentative map. So just to give you a little bit of background, this entire development was started back in the mid-1990s. It had gone through several developers, including Bruce Homer and Mick Casey and Ken Gearhart. So the project was vested under the laws when a 1-acre lot were still allowed with well and septic. Since then, the laws have changed, and that's no longer allowed due to high density and the concern about septic contaminating the water system. So last year, Desert Hills Loop parcel maps were approved, which met the developer agreement deadline. The approval had a 1-year deadline to record the maps, along with an allowance to request an extension for another year. The owner did begin working with NV Energy for power utilities to the development. However, NV Energy continually delayed their design and approval for a year. Unfortunately, the owners did not realize the deadline had passed, and now the project has expired. So this variance request attempts to salvage some of the property by proposing lots as small as 2 acres, which is half the number of that were originally approved, but still more than the 5 that are, or the 5 acres that are now allowed by code. The May application included a possible layout of lots, and discussions with the department heads found that that would not work for emergency services, who would have recommended denial back in May. And that is why the applicant had requested the postponement. The new layout that you see up there resolves those issues. The question really here for the variance is, are the 2-acre lots acceptable to the commission? The standards at issue are that the sewer and water requirements in the county's master plan and Title 13 prohibit parcel map that creates lots less than 5 acres in size unless they connect to the county's community water and sewer systems. This variance request allowing the project parcel maps to create 2-acre lots. If approved, the parceling plan layout can be considered for approval, which is the next item on the agenda. There's 4 criteria that the commission has to determine whether or not are met. 1, the property is characterized by an extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition, such as exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape, or it has an exceptional topographic condition at the time of enactment of the regulation. So basically, the application had indicated that the BOCC had approved the project, and the developer was actively trying to construct the project, but due to delays by NV Energy, and some missteps on behalf of the developer. It fell through the cracks. Staff does agree that that does make this an exceptional condition. Number two, the strict application of the regulation would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to or exceptional and undue hardships upon the owner of the property. Since the county no longer allows the 1 acre development without the utilities, the property would become undevelopable. And staff agrees that changing a 1 acre development to a 5 acre development presents a sizable financial hardship. The owner's request for lots as small as 2 acres would reduce this hardship. And I just do want to point out that up till a couple of months ago, had this been continued, it would have actually been allowed to have the 1 acre lots with well and septic. 3, granting of this variance will not materially detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of the injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity. 2 acre development would have a lower density than the current zoning, which is the E1. The variance would allow development of the property with half the intensity of the neighborhood impacts compared to the previously approved project. And along with a less effect, that would create less effect on public health, safety, and welfare. And the proposed variance is consistent with the intent of the purpose of this title. It's been mentioned a couple of times that this is now no longer allowed by code. I would like to point out that the master plan policy 2.2.6 prohibits approval of land divisions with lots less than 5 acres unless connecting to the county utility services. However, it provides for limited exceptions, and one of these is for infill development options. This was at one point part of a larger development, a phase that was not constructed due to the recession of 2006-2007. So this could, if the Planning Commission so views it that way, be considered an infill as it was part of an original development. Based on the application, based on continued conversations with the applicant and discussions with them regarding their inability to have NV Energy help them with a design, it is recommended by staff at this point that the zoning or the variance is approved based on a couple of conditions. The approved lot size is approximately 2 acres with a maximum lot count for the development of 8 residential parcels. And number 2, the approval of this variance expires 1 year from the date of the final decision. An application for a parceling plan to implement the variance must be submitted before expiration. With that, I'd be happy, and I'm sure the applicant would be as well, to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they wish to add or have any questions?
A little red icon.
And we're going to do our best. Our engineer was supposed to be here and let us know about 3 hours before the meeting that he was sick, so.
That's fine. Thank you. Is there any discussion from the commission?
Mr. Chair, Zach Binder. So I got a couple questions. When did the E1, or when was that changed on the subdivisions?
I think it was 2005.
Dean, we believe it was around 2005.
Okay, so it's been a while then
Yes.
that we've been in that, so.
And various developers, once they've had approved tentative maps, have entered into development agreements that allowed them to continually renew those development agreements. We have been frowning upon that because they were just being kind of kicked down the road, kicking the can down the road. This applicant did have the intent of purchasing this property and actually proceeding with the development. It's just, there was some mix-up with deadlines and scheduling and that sort of thing.
But this is something that's expired.
Yes, it
Since
is.
it was previously
Yes,
approved.
yes, it expired.
And then everything around it's E1, correct?
That's correct.
There. But some of the other stuff that you guys were doing in the similar area was actually, is that E1 on the other developments that you guys were working on?
Yeah, it was E1 for sure.
The applicant has had approved a subdivision in the area of Michelle Drive and Dillon Road. That was under a development agreement and therefore still allowed the well and septic on the 1 acre parcels. The unfortunate part about this development happened that it was not renewed in a timely fashion and it expired before the applicant had the opportunity to request an extension.
And it just expired in February, and we've been working with staff and our engineer since February to get this.
And when did you acquire the property?
A year.
At least.
Yeah,
maybe
so
2.
we applied pretty much shortly after we bought the property, and then got it approved by the county commissioners, and we're hammering NV Energy, and they just didn't get us anything. And me and Dean were talking, and I'm like, oh, we gotta get on the meeting to extend our application. And I think it was like 7 days, right? We would still be under that approval if we would have came and extended it. And I was like,
So this was previously approved by the planning commission and the county commissioners?
as 16 lots, yeah. And then that expired. We went to redo it and it had expired. And now we're at 7, I guess. So, and then, I mean, our goal is to go develop it. We're not the kick the can down the road kind of people. We'll be out there as soon as we get it approved. If we do, on NV Energy again, and they said that they're holding a special spot for us to get it approved, and then we'd be putting in roads and houses, and that's what we do.
All right, thank you.
We're feeling a little beat up, but.
Is there any other discussion from the commission?
Please.
Commissioner Deal?
There isn't any, like, TCID drainage that interferes with your development?
I think there's am I right, Dean, in the back there along the railroad tracks? I think there's maybe a TCID easement.
Is there any other topography that
No, it's
interferes?
It's
Just-
pretty flat. It's just desert right there at the, along the railroad.
So
tracks.
basically, the only reason you're asking for a variance is it elapsed and you want 2 acres instead of,
We would love to have the ones back.
Yeah.
But 2, I mean, whatever you guys think is right. We would love the 2s.
yeah, okay, thanks.
Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hyde?
yeah, Mark Hyde for the record. I just think it falls very neatly in the infill area. And so I'm just saying, I'm voicing my approval for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Nelson, did you have something?
Can you go back to the parcel map? How are you guys accessing lots 7, 8? I'm just curious. I'm sure I'm just not looking at it right.
Yeah, right there, 6 and 7. Yeah, so there's up at the top, what does it say, Melanie? Yeah, there's a cul-de-sac there that we were planning on accessing it off of that.
So it's going to come all the way down to lot 6 and 7 from there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
And
And I
Commissioner
think-
Nelson, that's why the parcels are as oddly shaped as they are.
Okay.
Is so that each parcel, originally, those 2 cul-de-sacs would have been connected with a road, and that would have accessed all 16 lots.
Okay.
The reason that the applicant asked for a postponement last time was it did not meet the fire department's requirements to get access to the lot. So they went back to the drawing board to get these awkward shaped parcels, so each one has access from either the north or the east cul-de-sac that you see there.
Okay, yeah.
Even lot 2 accesses off there.
Yeah, I was just having a hard time seeing it up there.
Any other commission discussion?
Yeah, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman, Mark Hyde for the record, just one more question for you. Were you aware that Marie Hanson from Building Department said that some of the present configuration of separation between the well and septic wouldn't meet requirements. That you'd have to kind of move things around, you'd have to move that around on some of these lots so that you have 100 feet separation between septic and well.
Yeah,
And so I can see this hasn't been updated to reflect that.
yeah. I mean, that's what the circles are. I didn't know that Marie had said something, but we definitely will do whatever it takes to make sure
Yeah.
that they have the proper separation, for sure.
So Dean Patterson for the record. So Mr. Hyde, the comments from the building official were on a previous copy, and so we passed those comments on to the surveyor, and he's since made corrections. And so this should meet the recommended changes that the building official had in the comments.
Any further discussion? Is there any public comment concerning this matter? Please come forward. And then if you push any of those red things there, they'll turn green. State your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is James Stacha, and if you want to flip back to the other slide, that one right there. If you look down in the right-hand corner, there's a circle there. Just to the left of it is my irrigation takeout. To address your comment about TCID easements, go back to the previous slide. No. The one with the lots, that one right there. Everything below the dotted line is TCID easement, and below that is railroad easement. They do overlap each other. My concern, and as anybody that irrigates in this county knows, you can't block a TCID easement. And everybody knows that they are blocked. And if you look at that, there's a potential to have 5 blockages on there. Now, I go up and down that easement irrigating, and I don't want to come across somebody who owns that lot who says, you're on my property. Condition that I'd put on it, the north side of the TCID easement must be fenced with a legal fence, and they cannot block that easement. Because I don't want to meet somebody at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm in a hurry to change water to prevent a flood, and him telling me I'm trespassing on his property. And we know the easements are blocked, and we know they can't be blocked, but I don't have time at 1 in the morning to discuss that with somebody when I have to make a change of water. That's my concern.
Jim, you're irrigating on the other side of the road?
Okay, right there where that circle is in the right-hand corner, just to the left of it, that's where water comes out. And all the way up that end line, on the north side of the end line, is the easement, and you can see it, that boundary line there comes clear into the end line canal. I see nothing but problems, the potential for problems there with people putting fences up across that easement. That is my concern. The size of the lot, the shape of the lot, number of lots, I'm not concerned about that. I would like to see the stipulation put on that on the south side or the north side of that easement, there is a legal fence put in.
Mr. Chair, Dean Patterson for the record.
Hang on just a second, we want to use his time. Are you done speaking?
Yes, that's my point.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So Mr. Stacha did come in and talk to us, and then I talked to the applicants, and they're all fine with that. But this conversation really should be on the record for the parceling plan, because that will deal with the layout and requirements for lots and stuff like that. This decision is about whether 2 acres is adequate. So I would suggest that we go ahead and make it move forward with the decision on the variance, and then we can make sure that Mr. Stacha's comments get applied to the record for the parceling plan, which will, the variance stops in its decision here, but the parceling plan goes on to the county commissioners.
Okay, so you could speak with the planning department to be involved in that conversation.
Well, I did speak with them earlier. My purpose for being here is to get my comments on the record of my request for further development of this, so they don't cause problems down the road for myself or anybody else.
And
Okay.
Jim, me and Dina talked about that, and we're fine with putting up a fence. Probably like a 4-wire, barbed wire fence that continues.
That's a legal fence, I have no problem.
That's fine.
And Mr. Chair, I think
Counsel?
Mr. Patterson was just mentioning it, the parceling plan is actually next on the agenda, so he won't even have to come in. It'll be in about after the next public comment if there's another comment made.
Mr. Sanford, can we take public comment from one item and state publicly that that is applicable to another item, if that's okay with it? That way, he doesn't have to come up and say it again. He's already said it once.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Diane, can you note that for the minutes?
Yes, I will.
Is there any other discussion on the variance of this matter? None heard. I ask for a motion for the findings.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Goings for the record. Based on the information provided in the application, the staff report and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance and with the criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.08.090F for a variance request to reduce parcel size as described in the staff report.
I'm on the wrong paper here. Motion been made by Commissioner Goings and seconded by Commissioner Nelson. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Mr. Chair, Scott Nelson for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to approve the request for a variance from the limits on land divisions with lots of less than 5 acres in Churchill County Code and Master Plan for NevDev LLC on APN 008-176-82. This approval is subject to conditions as listed in the staff report.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Nelson, seconded by Commissioner Goings for the decision. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. Agenda item 10, action item, item A, an application for a tentative parceling plan filed by Jessica Stenger, manager of NevDev LLC for property located at Desert Hills Loop. Please state your name and address for the record, business address.
Jessica Stenger, 1111 Roberson Lane.
Daniel McCrary, same place.
Thank you. Director Sprouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the application is for a tentative parceling plan for 7 lots. The use listing is single-family residential. The applicant is NevDev LLC, which is the McCreary family. The owner is NevDev LLC. The representative is not Steve Bell from Bell Land Serving, but Ms. Stenger and Mr. McCreary. There is no address. The APN is 008-176-82, which is 16.48 acres. And the master plan is urbanizing, and the zoning is E1. I will not bore you with the site history because we've already heard that tonight. So the proposed parceling plan would result in 7 lots. Since A, there are fewer lots, and B, the owner of Skyridge Phase West of this project intends to cancel that phase, a new plan will eliminate most roads and connections in favor of short stubs on each end of Desert Hills loops that end in cul-de-sacs serving the new lots. This will also reduce road costs for the project. The applicant proposes to construct the entire development in Phase 1, probably with 2 parcel maps recorded at the same time once the road segments are built or bonded. The 2 parcels will split the large parcel into 7 lots. The average density is 1 lot per 2.35 acres. The existing lot is vacant and does not have any water rights. All 7 lots will be residential, which are allowed uses under the zoning code. The proposed development will have the same character as the existing neighborhoods to the east and the north. The main consequence of the development will be slightly more traffic and human activity in adjacent areas due to the new population passing through those areas. The new lots will front upon short segments at each end of Desert Hill Loop, which will not be a loop after all. These short segments will be paved roads within the 60-foot road easement and county standard cul-de-sac turnarounds. There are 5 criteria that need to be met. Number 1, conformity with the master plan. The master plan designates the area as urbanizing and is implemented by the existing E1 zoning district. Staff feels that that has been met. Compatibility with existing adjacent properties and uses. The proposal will result in an increase of residential use and human activities compared to the existing vacant lot, but is nearly identical to the existing nearby development to the north and the east. Therefore, staff feels like that criteria has been met. Protection of the public health and safety and general welfare. Creation of a new development that is consistent with its longstanding approvals will not impact existing conditions for public health, safety, and welfare, and it will not overburden the police or the fire department. Number 4, adequate public facilities and services are available to the development. There is no public water and sewer facilities on or near the site, and that was approved in the variance under the previous agenda item. And number 5, as part of the review and analysis of the development request, findings of conformance with the goals and objectives of the code and the master plan must be made in order to recommend approval and impose conditions. The conditions imposed by the staff may be modified by the final decision-making body. So based on the final assessment, options for the findings are below. We did receive comment from the fire department who had issue with the original, but with the new parceling plan as proposed to you today, the fire marshal did not see any issues with the current rendering. We also received comment from CCCOM, who as well said they have no issues with the map. So staff does have a recommendation of approval based on certain conditions. Those recommended conditions are as follows. Number 1, changes shall be made for compliance with Churchill County Code, including but not limited to A, fixing typographical errors such as double printing lines and text placing arrows, etc. B, adjusting radius circles to center on their center point. C, providing project name in the title block. D, placing a reference to note 3 on lot number 5. And you have a copy of these, so I'm assuming you will get them to Steve Bell. Number 2, any final changes required by the county surveyor shall be made, including but not limited to the following: placing symbols for set monument at all corners, especially for lots 1 and 6. B, placing symbols and notes for well monuments for roads. C, provide bearings and distances for all lines, especially for lot 6. And finally, D, describing all monument and corner symbols in the legend. And with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions, as I'm sure the applicant will as well.
Dean Patterson, for the record, I just wanted to clarify what the fire marshal had concerns with before and the solution to them resulting from this map. So when the previous design was provided, there would have been homes kind of evenly dispersed throughout the large parent parcel. And that created problems because the fire marshal pointed out that when a fire truck arrives to respond to a fire, they're not going to know which direction to go when they see a home on fire on the opposite corner from the Desert Hills Loop. And so they may go in the wrong direction, but you end up, it'd be a cul-de-sac because there originally was not going to be a road just like this proposal, but they might end up going to the wrong cul-de-sac, and that would increase the fire response time. So the solution was to reconfigure the lots, and now there are building envelopes to make sure that the new homes are near the cul-de-sacs. So when a fire truck arrives, they will know, oh, that fire's near that end, we will go that way, and they will go to the correct location the first time. So that's what it was about.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything they'd like to add? Thank you. Is there any is there any discussion from the commission?
I did have one quick question.
Commissioner Butler?
So it's going to be conforming to the existing neighborhood, so are you guys going to put modular homes, or are they going to be stick-built?
We don't know yet. There's both in that neighborhood.
Fair enough.
We have lots of options.
Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, Mark Hyde for the record. I just wanted clarification on the fencing. You talked to Jim Sestascia about putting a fence on the easement. Is that what you're saying? On the border of the easement?
Yep,
So that area is kept clear?
yeah. We talked about it, and we agree that there definitely are people that the property goes over the easement and they try and block them off. And we think it would be a good idea for barbed wire fence along the easement so we don't end up in that situation.
Do you fence your properties? You're building, whether you're building a modular home, are you fencing the property?
Some, kind of depends, you know. The 5-acre parcels, no. Ones, a lot of the ones are already abutting properties, so yeah, some of them we will fence. It just depends on the property.
Okay, thank you.
We weren't planning on fencing it, but
Go ahead. He was still
Sure, I'm
talking.
okay.
Well, he was still talking, so.
Should that be something we should add to these recommendations here? And maybe, stipulate that that fence was agreed upon and it's part of the stipulations in there? Could we add that as another one of the recommendations?
Dean Patterson for the record, and that would be right. By the time we talked to Mr. Stascia about the fencing issue, the staff report was already done, so it did not make it in.
So it is
That
something-
item did not
we
make
are
it
going
in
to
the
add that
staff
to that.
report.
Okay, very good. All right.
Would it
So
be-
we would need to add that in the motion and in the decision, yes.
But would it be necessary? Because the property owner can't build in an easement anyway.
Well, no, there's a problem with easements. Oh, sorry. There is a problem with easements, and I understand what Jim's talking about. What happens is TCID has the easement. TCID says you can't build on that easement, but who's going to enforce that? And so the property owners come down and they build their fences and block these easements, and then when you're in the middle of that, like you said, in the middle of the night, and you're trying to change or fix a situation, you've got these fences across. If the fence is built, already in place, that should stop any further fencing that would get down along the easements.
Mr. Chair, Chris Ross for the record. TCID does do a pretty good job in making sure that people don't build in their easement. But I think a concern that Mr. Stascia has is that if there is no fence and he's walking down the easement, it's not blocked off, somebody believes that he's trespassing onto their property. And so the only way that that's going to be resolved is if you put a fence on the easement line. And then that person will believe, he'll know that that is his property and the easement is not.
Agree with that as well, but I will also tell you that I see a lot of fences that are built on TCID easements that give us a lot of issues. So I think it's a good service to do that for both aspects. Yeah.
Any further discussion? Is there any public comment? And your public comment earlier will be transferred to this item as well, Mr. Stascia. None heard. Director Spross, do you have anything else concerning this matter? None heard. Ask for a motion of the findings.
Mr. Chair, Zach Leonard for the record. Based on the information provided in the application, the staff report, and heard tonight, I move that the findings have been met for conformance with criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.04.040C and Churchill County Code 16.04.050A for a tentative parceling plan as described in the staff report.
Motion been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Goins. The findings have been met. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. I now ask for a motion for the decision.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mark Hyde for the record. Based on the previously adopted findings made for this project, I move to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve the tentative parceling map permit application for Nev Dev LLC to divide APN number 008-176-82 into 7 lots. This approval is subject to conditions as listed. We're adding condition number 3, which is that a legal fence will be constructed on the easement line that goes into the property.
Second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Hyde, second by Commissioner Bunyard for approval of the decision. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 6-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 11, letter received. Item A, City of Fallon's notification of its intent to annex 5.0 acres, more or less, located at 1700 Harrigan Road, 875 Wood Drive, and 865 Wood Drive. Do I read the letter, or do you read the letter, or we just accept it?
You just accept it,
It's
you
for
can
information
discuss it
only.
if you want to.
Yeah,
but-
if you want to pull, if
Okay.
you want to pull a letter out of the letters comment to discuss, then you can do that. If not, it's for information only.
Okay? Does anyone have any discussion? Okay, and we don't vote, right? No voting, okay? Agenda item 12, consent agenda. Can I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Bunyard, second by Commissioner Nelson to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion is unanimous. Agenda item 13, is there any further public comment? None heard. Agenda item 14, adjournment. Meeting is now adjourned at 9:37 PM.